Today we're diving into the early life, the spiritual beginnings, really, of Jogindra Nath. Our source is excerpts from the life of Sri Ramakrishna.
A fascinating figure, Jogin.
Absolutely. So, if you're someone who likes to understand things quickly but deeply, this is for you. We'll explore some surprising aspects of his early journey. We want to keep it focused, memorable, no unnecessary fluff.
Just the core story, what it tells us.
Okay, let's get into it. We're talking about Jogindra Nath, often just called Jogin, around 1882 or so. He's the eldest son of Nabin Chandra Ray Chaudhary.
And they were an aristocratic Brahmin family living in Dakshineswar. That context is pretty important.
Right. That Brahmin background in 19th century India carries weight, expectations of, spiritual knowledge, certain practices.
Definitely. And his father, described as traditional, maybe modest means, but with hopes for his son. High hopes, naturally.
And it seems Jogin, even from a very young age, showed this spiritual leaning.
It's quite striking, isn't it? The biography talks about these almost innate religious feelings he had.
Like when he was just a little kid, 5 years old.
Yeah, around that age. He'd apparently have these sudden, quite profound moments.
Yeah.
Feeling displaced. You might be playing, then just stop.
Stop playing. And do what?
Look up at the sky, apparently, and think, where am I? This isn't my place. I don't belong here.
Wow, that's intense for a 5-year-old. That feeling of not belonging. Does the text connect that to his later spiritual path?
Well, it certainly suggests a kind of predisposition, doesn't it? This recurring sense of longing, like his real home, his real companions were somewhere else entirely.
Almost like a premonition.
Yeah.
A childhood sense of yearning for something more.
Exactly. And then as he gets a bit older, this sort of philosophical wondering seems to channel itself
into something more concrete.
Yeah, into a more active spiritual pursuit. We read about him dedicating real time to worship, to meditation.
Right. It mentions his interest in sacred texts kind of taking over from his regular schoolwork, even in high school.
Which suggests, it wasn't just a phase, it was a genuine internal drive towards the spiritual.
A deep yearning, as you said, that was looking for a focus.
And that focus really starts to crystallize, doesn't it, with his first encounter with Sri Ramakrishna.
Ah, yes, the meeting at Rani Rasmani's garden. That's a pivotal moment.
Absolutely pivotal.
So let's picture it. Jogin goes to the garden. There's a big crowd there, all listening intently. There's something happening in one of the rooms.
He'd heard whispers, right, about this eccentric Brahmin, a former temple priest.
Yeah, people were talking. So his curiosity is piqued. He moves closer to hear what's going on.
And he realizes pretty quickly he's listening to the man some locals called the mad priest.
Which must have been confusing, maybe? Expecting madness, perhaps?
Maybe. But what he actually hears is this incredibly simple, heartfelt explanation of the philosophy of love.
Not just sentiment, though. The text implies something deeper.
Oh, definitely. It's portrayed as this profound understanding of the divine spark in everyone, the connection between all beings. Sri Ramakrishna wasn't talking abstract concepts. It sounds like he was speaking from lived experience.
Direct, real, compassionate. That must be what hit Jogin so hard.
I think so. The directness, the simplicity, the sheer feeling behind it.
And Jogin's reaction. The biography uses the word transfixed.
Completely captivated, just standing there, absorbed by the words.
And that powerful first impression, it didn't just fade away, it sparked a deeper interest.
It absolutely did. He wanted to understand this unusual man better, which led to him deciding to watch Sri Ramakrishna closely as he walked home that evening.
Thinking something like, this man, he must be a saint. He must have actually seen God.
Right. Recognizing something profound, even if others were dismissing him as eccentric or mad.
It's interesting that initial reaction wasn't just blind acceptance. He was curious, yes, but also observant, wanting to watch him more closely.
And that element, that initial skepticism, or maybe just careful observation, it's actually really important. It shows it wasn't just instant, unquestioning devotion.
More like a reasoned curiosity.
Exactly. It's kind of reassuring, isn't it? That even someone who becomes deeply devoted might start with questions, with a need to see for themselves.
Healthy skepticism, perhaps. It underlines that real understanding often involves that critical faculty.
And we see that playing out later, don't we? His tendency to question and observe becomes quite central to his development under Sri Ramakrishna.
So this first meeting, it wasn't just a casual thing, it really planted a seed.
A seed of deep respect, definitely. And a powerful desire to understand this unconventional teacher who spoke about love in such a compelling way.
It really set him on the path, didn't it? The path that would completely change his life.
Absolutely. And thinking about how that path unfolded, those initial doubts Jogin had, his need to observe, they weren't really obstacles.
More like catalysts.
Precisely. Catalysts for a deeper, more tested understanding of Sri Ramakrishna. Think about that incident later, where he secretly watched the master at night.
Right, that's such a revealing story. He was worried, wasn't he? About whether Sri Ramakrishna might be visiting his wife, about whether his renunciation was, well, real.
He had genuine concerns, driven by his own commitment to finding the truth. He needed to be sure.
And when Sri Ramakrishna catches him hiding there, instead of being angry or offended,
he praises him, says, "Well done." He tells Jogin that you must examine a sadhu, a holy man, by day and by night, before you truly put your faith in him.
It's such a powerful moment. It validates critical thinking, even in, a spiritual relationship. Don't just believe blindly. Test. Verify.
Exactly. It shows Sri Ramakrishna wasn't afraid of scrutiny. In fact, he encouraged it.
And then there are those other incidents, the ones that seem almost contradictory on the surface.
Yes. Like the advice about being really careful, checking the quality when buying pan, the betel leaf preparation.
Meticulous practical advice.
Contrasted with these moments of intense spiritual ecstasy Sri Ramakrishna would experience, worlds apart, seemingly.
Or the time with the cockroach.
Right. Gently rebuking Jogin for not killing a cockroach if other than someone.
Compared to his reaction when Jogin didn't speak up to defend him when someone else was criticizing the master quite harshly.
They seem inconsistent, don't they? But the biography suggests these were actually deliberate.
Deliberate? How so?
As targeted lessons aimed specifically at molding Jogin's character, addressing what the text calls his extreme softness of heart.
Ah, okay. So the Pan advice teaches discrimination, attention to detail in the world.
The cockroach incident perhaps aimed at the principle of non-harming, or maybe overcoming squeamishness in service. The interpretations vary slightly.
And not defending the master?
That was likely about fostering inner strength, courage, maybe detachment from needing to always step in, different lessons for different aspects of a balanced spiritual life. It wasn't about the actions themselves being contradictory, but about the specific qualities Sri Ramakrishna was trying to cultivate in Jogin at that moment.
So these weren't random inconsistencies, but tailored teaching moments.
That's how it's presented, yes. Purposeful actions to shape him.
That makes sense. What about the incident with the temple offerings? That also caused Jogin some confusion initially.
Yes, Jogin saw Sri Ramakrishna seem concerned about not receiving his share of the offerings from the Kali temple.
And Jogin thought, oh, is he just worried about getting his food like any other priest? A bit petty, perhaps?
That was Jogin's initial, perhaps slightly judgmental thought. But Sri Ramakrishna clarifies it. He explains his concern wasn't for the food itself.
What was it about then?
It was about respecting the intention behind the donation. Rani Rasmani had set up the offerings specifically for the benefit of genuine sadhus, real devotees. Sri Ramakrishna felt a responsibility to ensure that intention was honored. His share represented that principle.
So it wasn't about personal gain, but about the integrity of the offering and the donor's wish, protecting the purpose of the donations.
Exactly. It shows how even seemingly small, everyday actions of someone like Sri Ramakrishna could be connected to deeper principles, to the welfare of devotees, to the very purpose of the temple endowment.
It underlines that idea, again, don't just judge by surface appearances. Look for the deeper meaning.
Precisely. In the lives of truly great spiritual figures, even tiny details often connect back to their larger mission, their concern for others. Nothing is truly trivial.
And all this testing, observing, learning, it led somewhere profound for Jogin. Sri Ramakrishna eventually gave him a very significant spiritual designation.
He did. He called Jogin an Iswara Koti.
Which means what exactly in this context?
It's a high honor. It essentially designates a soul of a very special caliber, someone inherently free, almost like an eternally perfect soul, not bound by karma in the same way as others, someone who comes to earth with a specific divine mission.
So it's a recognition of an incredibly high level of spiritual realization.
Yes, and particularly, Sri Ramakrishna acknowledged Jogin's complete mastery over worldly desires, especially what the text refers to as the sex idea. He saw Jogin as embodying true renunciation.
Wow. That's quite an affirmation from his guru.
It truly is. It wasn't just praise, it was a statement about Jogin's fundamental spiritual nature and attainment as recognized by the master himself.
It really speaks volumes about Jogin's journey, doesn't it? From that curious, perhaps slightly doubtful young man
Who felt out of place in the world.
to being recognized as an Iswara Koti, a master of renunciation. It's a powerful testament to the whole process.
The transformation is remarkable. It highlights the impact of finding a genuine spiritual guide, and crucially, Jogin's own sincerity and effort in following that path.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, as you navigate your own quests for knowledge, whether it's spiritual or in any other field. Think about the complexities, the things that might seem contradictory at first glance when you're trying to understand something deeply.
Like Jogin encountered with Sri Ramakrishna.
Exactly. How do those seemingly small details, those unexpected actions or statements, sometimes reveal much larger truths about a person or an idea or a whole system of thought?
It's a great question. What can we take away from Jogin's journey? Going from that initial healthy skepticism that need to observe and test.
All the way to profound faith and recognized spiritual mastery. It's certainly something worth pondering long after we've finished this deep dive.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.